So ranges in Go are just another tool in your tool belt. Range allows you to add up like integers in an array. You can use it to grab like keys or indexes out of a map, or you can also use it to pull specific integers out of an array too. Along with other things, you can use it to pull out, like if you want the index of a rune or of part of a string, things like that. There's a whole world of things that you can do with range, and we're going to use, now we're still going through the Go by example here through the range. We're going to type this out together and see how this works and explain as we go. So let's go ahead with our first example. So here we're making an array, which we're already familiar with, right? So we're just calling this nums. We're going to do integers and 2, 3, and 4. We want the sum. Create that as an empty. Now what we're going to do is a for. And remember our underscores? We're basically telling in the for loop, we want to ignore a piece. So in this case, that blank identifier is basically saying that we don't really need the index out of this. We can ignore this. That's basically what we're telling in the for loop. Nums and sum is going to equal num. So let's go ahead and save this part. And almost forgot my print line. And I want to do something different actually. You know what? Let's do something a little different. Let's, up here, we're going to create a new var, and we're just going to call this PL. And we're going to make this the print line. So down here, I'm going to put PL. And we're going to say sum. That'll give us our sum total that we want. Sum. Let's go ahead and save this. You tell it pulled in the FMT package. Let's go ahead and run this. So there it is, sum equals 9. You can tell where I was doing some playing with this before we got on, but it tells us what our grand total is. And the way it does this is we're taking these 2, 3, and 4. And in this for loop, we're saying, okay, I want to use the range to add up these numbers together. And then what we're going to do is, this is the step where we're adding them. We're saying we want to add the number to the sum, and that's how we're using that range. In this particular case, this PL, I'm just shortening the FMT print line command down to PL, and then we can, that's giving us our function, our print line function, and we're finishing from there. So I'm just, essentially what I'm doing here is I'm creating an alias to make it easier to type out. Feel free to do that too. So now let's take a range. And maybe we want both the index and value, but yet in our first example, let's take out the index. We don't need it, right? So if we do for I, we'll take this range again of our nums. And anytime I say the word nums, I'm thinking nugs, like chicken nuggets. I don't know. And we just want the num that has 3. So we have a 3 right here. Let's close this so we get a little more room. We have 3 right here. So essentially what we're saying is, out of this range of nums, out of this variable, I want, if it says 3, which is that's what it's going to be here, then what we want this code to do is we want it to print out the word index just like in our example. And we're going to say I. Let's go ahead and save this. So in this particular case, here we ignored the index. Now here, all we want is the one index out of that. The key is going to be 3. So essentially we have 0, 1, 2, right, is our indexes for this array, as we've discussed about previously. But we only want the index for whatever this is for 3. So if we run this, let's see what we get. Index is 1. And that's perfect because we have 0, 1, and that's 3. So if we change this 3 to a 2, it's going to come out 0. If we change it to 4, it's going to come out as 2. And if we added a bunch more and we could change it around, we're going to get the index that equals that value that we're calling on. So range allows us to manipulate data more easily, right? And be able to pull, like if we just want a certain data and we want to grab the index out of it, we want to add, we want to work with our data in some way. Maybe we want to get the bytes of something or get out the rune count or things like that. We can do that, and more about runes later. But let's go ahead and let's use the range on some key value pairs in our next example. So here we're doing key value, and we're going to make a map. This is going to be a string. And if you remember when we did this before, we did string and integer. In this particular case, an example, we're just using strings. So we're going to use A, and that's going to be apple for that pair. And then we're going to use B, banana. You know, you got to say banana just like the Minions. Banana. So 4K V, and we want to make that variable range of KVS. And we're going to put that in a print line, and we want to do a percent s greater than percent s in, oh wait, I just realized something when I did this \n. So what this means, this \n, that means we're going to a new line. So when we do this, we don't want print line. That function print line actually automatically has this /n at the end of it because it's print line. What we want is print f. So if we take this, let's just copy this just for kicks and giggles, and we're going to change pf to equal printf. So let's change that to f. Because a printf, you're going to find that it's actually a very, very handy tool. You're going to be using that probably more than print line, or at least I end up using it more. And because of that, you're going to find that the things that you can do with the strings that you're printing out, it's actually quite flexible. You'll see as we go and do more with it. Now, in our next one, we're going to do a for loop, and again, we're going to do a range again of KVS. And in this iteration, what we're doing is we're just going to grab the key, and that key that we're looking for is just going to be K. So we're grabbing the key that is within K here. Well, actually within here. And then our last example in our go by examples for IC equals range go. And what you'll find with this this is where we're starting to play with our runes. And basically runes is you're counting like characters or the Unicode points. The explanation here in the Go by example is actually better than what I can give, I'll be honest. So it allows us to get both the byte index and of the rune, and the second is going to be the rune itself. That's how it explains it, and that's actually perfectly applicable. I'll explain it here a little bit more in more detail here in just a minute. All right, let's go ahead and save this and let's run it. So here is our example. As we started off at this first part, this first iteration here, we grabbed out of the sum, we created a sum of 9 by using the range command to add them in a for loop one at a time to plus, taking this variable and saying add 2, add 3, add 4, and then print it. That's how we got the 9. Then we grabbed the index for whichever one was going to have a value of 3 in it, and we got the index of 1, which is actually perfect. Then down here, we're creating a map of strings. So key value pairs, which we've done in previous lessons. And what we're doing is we're going through and reiterating these. And this time we're using the range. And now these %s's are actually representing as variables for filling in as it goes through this for loop for essentially, as we can tell, the key and the value pair, and it goes through and prints each one. And this %s, that's the K. This other %s is the V. That's how we're getting these two in here. That's how we're getting the key value pair together. So these print s's or %s's are doing nothing but their placements. If we did this again, we could do it this way. However, if we did, we'd have to remove the parentheses, the quotes. We'd have to put it in here, right? In order for it to work. So a much easier way of doing that is this %s, because then we can put everything in quotes. And then what we do, gotta get this back in here. Then what we do is we add these here. So now if I did V and then K here, what I'd actually be doing is flipping these two. So if we ran this again, we'd see Apple on this side and A on this side. But because we followed the index of K and value, or the key, I should say, and the value on this side, that's why we're getting A for, and then Apple, B, and the banana. The next section of the for loop is we're taking that K, that key, and we're printing off, okay, let's talk each keys. So we're pulling just kind of like what we did here, whereas in this section we looked for, okay, which one had the value of 3 inside? We just want to print that one. Well, this time what we're doing is we're going through the range and we're printing off every key. So if we had like 6, A, B, C, D, E, F, it would actually go through here and go A, B, C, D, E, F, because it would go through the entire for loop before finishing. And then this last section here, we're doing another for loop. And this is what we're talking about with the runes. It gives you the index and then the actual rune itself, the index, the starting byte index of the rune. That's why we're getting 1 and then 111. Runes I'm not that familiar with, I'll be honest, but there is, if you want to learn more about runes, there is a great section on runes. If we just type in, I often go in here and I look up, like blank identifier and stuff, and Effective Go, because it's fabulous documentation. And it discusses runes, what runes are in here, and how you can use them in different ways. There's other documentation too that you can look at that discusses runes are, but I don't know. We'll probably get into that more later on in other courses. I wouldn't worry about it too much. We're going to have think there's an actual whole section in Go by example. So we'll be talking about strings with runes and stuff more here in a future video. Just know that what that's doing is it's pulling the byte values for those, for the word go. If we change the word go to, like, let's say going strong, let's save that, print that off so you can kind of see that. You know, it's going through and it's giving us the rune index and rune value for each one. And this is our script. I hope you enjoyed talking about how to use range and hopefully found that helpful. In our next lesson, we're going to be talking about functions.